jump right into our friend Garrett. You're here today. Welcome to all of you. Woo! This is a fun thing. Actually, that student there on your screen on the left, that's William Walker V. He's one of our change agents. So we're here talking about the School of Sustainability. Look at me. See, I look a lot better in that picture than I do here. That's what COVID does to your haircut. So our introduction, and I apologize, I didn't change this. We've actually got an introduction here. We're going to have a welcome here from Mr. Garrett Wong, and then a Q&A that's going to be facilitated as well. So let me quickly talk to you about why sustainability is a comprehensive degree offering and an opportunity. So only 1 of 4 individuals in the nation on average use their degree at college in a field of study. School of Sustainability is about 75%. We're a transdisciplinary school and organization. We solve complex problems, and we have a global perspective. So if there are things out there in the world that bother you, that you want to change and see different, this is a place where you can actually roll up your sleeves and do that. Here's a quick thing. So Garrett embodies this as well. Our alumni are everywhere. This is a degree in creating opportunity and change. As you can see from the screen, there are a multitude in myriad different places that our students and alumni are employed. Fun little fact here, when you talk about going to a place that advances the UN Sustainable Development Goals, these are the big 17 top line things that we need to address according to the UN and all of the member countries in order to make the world a better place. ASU ranks #1 in the entire United States, #5 in the entire world, but #1 in the entire United States. So if you want to go to a place that really embodies all in, chips in the middle of the table, sustainability, this is the place to do it. You can study many different things between cities, energy, water, food supplies, climate change, social transformation, how we get people moving towards this as well, and creating a just and sustainable development for all. At the school, we have 3 different major opportunities. We have a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Science, and this wonderful new program that launched 2 years ago, Bachelor of Science in Food Systems. As you can see, the 2 major degrees, the arts and the science, they have little miniature specializations. So when you come here, you can actually focus and drill down into some of those areas in particular. But now I feel like Vince McMahon. Let's get ready to rumble, right? Is that Vince McMahon? I could have that off. Garrett knows more about this than I do. He's our wonderful expert joining us today. It's Mr. Garrett Wong with the Green Sports Alliance. So Garrett is an alumnus of the School of Sustainability from 2016. He's going to give you all of the wonderful background of him here in the school and his genesis and what he's doing now. But he now serves as the Member Services Manager for the Green Sports Alliance. This is the definitive trade body and organization that brings together professional sports, athletes, stadiums, vendors, everyone into a singular area in order to tap and unleash the power of sport to help make the world a better place. And we are thankful to have you here today, Garrett. I'm going to take a little bit of a breather here. I want to introduce you. Let's move into a little bit of your background. And you know, you and I are going to start asking some questions and hearing some of the things that you have to say. And remember, guests joining us today, if you have any questions about sports and sustainability, feel free to unmute or just toss them into the chat box. Garrett, welcome to the conversation.
Appreciate that, Colin. I love how every conversation that I've been having these past couple of months have been, gosh, look at that headshot. And man, I wish my haircut wasn't as this long, but I reluctantly forgot my ball cap for today's meeting, so everyone gets to at least see a little bit into my day-to-day life here up in Portland, Oregon. But no, excited to be here. Arizona State has always had a great place in my heart, and excited to talk to incoming students here today a little bit about my background and about my time at ASU. So I came out from the Bay Area out in California and was really looking at the college landscape and said, well, there are 3 major pieces that I want out of my college experience. I want to be able to dive deep into the realm of sustainability in whatever facet that was. I really didn't know at the time. And I wanted to make sure that I could study abroad, and I wanted to make sure that in whatever I did, I had an opportunity to expand outside of the classroom and do more with my leadership ability that I knew I had, and my professionalism that I wanted to continue to grow upon during my time in the undergraduate program. And that's how I landed on Arizona State. I mean, I was able to land a scholarship that brought me in, and the School of Sustainability was the perfect opportunity for me to really dive into the sustainable energy, materials, and technology track and learn deeply about the systems that are so integrated within the sustainability world, both in corporate business, across event management, and all of these different areas. And at the same time was able to study abroad, was able to have internships and externships that allowed for me to learn the ins and outs of city and local government, the kind of climate that comes with corporate business, and then also being able to be a part of different leadership capacities in doing things like being a CA within the residential communities in the dorms at ASU, and then being able to be a student ambassador to lead a student group on campus. All of these different pieces were what really made my ASU experience so fantastic, and happy to chat a little bit more on some of the other specifics you have for me, Colin.
I love it. So maybe we're going to start a little bit about kind of like the genesis of the School of Sustainability. And then I want you to pivot from there, like sport in this school? Holy smokes, you could find sports here. You were involved, and I would say actually some very athletic things while you were here. Trust me, having done it in high school, I think you know what I'm talking about. And then the pivot and acceleration out. So Garrett, when you were thinking about the School of Sustainability, you're coming from California, right? You've got a lot of opportunities. And what drew you originally to ASU in the School of Sustainability? What was that unique value proposition to you?
Obviously, there were two major pieces of that. And the one that I think is, of course, what was so important for me was being able to meet new people, to be able to find an opportunity where I could continue a passion of mine, which was music for so long, and continue doing so in a new environment, such as in Tempe, Arizona. And so I joined the Sun Devil Marching Band and plopped into the dorms in late July, right before the infamous band camp that they put you through the ringer in the hundreds or the 115s at my time, as we were going through a very, very interesting Arizona summer. But was able to meet so many people from biology to engineering to the like, all coupled with this great kind of ethos of community, camaraderie, and a strong connection to music and performance. And so that was all a fantastic piece for me to come to Arizona State and continue doing that for all 4 years, performing at the football games, basketball games. We even did soccer, hockey, which is now a D1 sport before my time at the university. And then being able to continue just being a representative of the ASU community as we did parades and other community events was a fantastic way to meet new people and to showcase my maroon and gold colors out in the community. And then, of course, to the second point, being the School of Sustainability. I knew that environmental science and environmental sustainability was something that was a strong passion of mine growing up in the Bay Area. Had taken the AP environmental science courses, had been a part of some local government changes and policy changes that came with that, and realized that this was something that I could have a strong impact in. I wanted my education to reflect my kind of moral values and pieces that I really uphold as strong within my core to my being. And when I came to ASU, knew that sustainability was going to be the main driver in all of that. And so being able to have this breadth of knowledge, to have this scale of availability and opportunity within the School of Sustainability to apply my specific interests to different tracks, to different courses, and then eventually funneling that into the event management space and to sports. Couldn't have asked for a better undergraduate experience at Arizona State.
So let's go there, right? So you come in with a background in sport. You're obviously a sport fanatic. I think what you didn't tell everyone is that, you know, your whole family is like a bunch of sports nuts, right? Everybody knows everything. You know, little known fact, and I'm just going to embarrass you here. You know, by the time like Garrett was 7, you know, he didn't know any lullabies, but he knew like who the third base of the Mets was in 1967. That's probably not accurate, but it's likely not far from the truth. So Garrett comes here with passion, background, a deep affinity for sport already from a family and a cultural perspective. Well, Garrett, and you certainly have some pictures up here. What were some of those moments here at the school where you realized, because look, you know, sports and sustainability, this may not normally be a peas and carrots sort of thing that people walk themselves. So what was that kind of aha moment when you went, oh my gosh, this is a thing and I want to be about this thing?
Absolutely. I mean, it was just the culmination of being able to learn from professors like yourself and from other members of the community that had eventually, you know, showcased this opportunity for sport and sustainability to be this driving force across our society. And so as I started continuing my work at the Student Ambassador Program, was able to orchestrate a trip to CenturyLink Field and to learn from the team in Seattle about what they're doing on the field, about what they're doing in the facility as it pertains to their energy efficiency, their water efficiency, but more importantly, their fan engagement and how they speak to their fans, their patrons, their corporate sponsors and their partners about why this core piece of sustainability is so important to the team, to the fans, and the city of Seattle. And all of those pieces combined really opened the doors for what was possible. And soon it came into a broader light when, I mean, all of these marquee events just started rolling into Phoenix. The Super Bowl, the College Football Championship, and eventually the 2017 Final Four after I had graduated. But it was actually in Professor Tetra's class in our capstone course my senior year that we started diving into this kind of focus around, you know, what would a sustainability committee local here in Phoenix look like? And as they were building all of these pieces with some members of Sun Devil Athletics in partnership with the School of Sustainability, we were able to compile this mock plan for what a sustainability committee could look like. As Colin eventually became the chair of that committee, was gracious enough to be appointed his chief of staff. And then the rest was history, was able to put on a fantastic event, become Evergreen certified by the Council for Responsible Sport, a organizing body that looks at event certification from the standard of true sustainability in event management and sustainable practices, and had an amazing time of being able to orchestrate and showcase the value that sustainability initiatives and programs can bring to this marquee event on a global scale.
Awesome. So let's go there. By the way, best decision I ever made as the chair of that was I have you as my chief of staff. So let's unpack that a little bit, because I don't think that people would normally associate things like sustainability with like the Final Four. Sure, let's recycle our cans at the game. Box check, move on. What else? We're here to play basketball. And you said we did achieve Evergreen certification. And for those listening, that is the highest level. And it was actually the first jewel level event that ever attained that. So walk us through, like, what's the difference? Like, why are we going beyond simple recycling? What was your thrust as the chief? You're kind of helping to quarterback all of this. Why the Final Four? What's the whole point? I mean, we can recycle. Who cares?
Absolutely. I mean, to the, I guess, public eye, it's looking at wanting your team and your community and your culture to build off of something as positive as sustainability and as broad as that can make it. You have so many opportunities down the line to expand that, to build it out, and to create a true level of positive, sustainable change within that community. And within that marriage of sport and sustainability, in its essence, it's being able to take two different pieces, and that's the cultural market influence that sport can bring to a community, to a fan base, to a country in certain instances, and then also bringing together this holistic and systemic interweb that is sustainability on how everything is connected, and bringing those two together. I think that's where we've really seen this strong commitment level in creating this awareness to drive meaningful change towards a more sustainable future. And it's such an incredible impact in what fans want to see out of their sports teams, from, you know, the water restoration initiatives all the way down into STEM and STEAM education for low-income communities within the region. There are so many attributes of what a sports team can touch in their community, and I think there's still so much left untapped here that we can definitely break wide open here in the near future.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, one of the pictures that we just moved on from was actually myself, Garrett, this gentleman right here on the right, that gentleman name is Scott. He is one of the godfathers of sport and sustainability, basically ran the entire Safeco field up north, and he's now over at the Atlanta Falcons Dome, the Mercedes-Benz Dome, running the place there. And then that's Sarah Hoverstein, who runs Business for Water Stewardship, which is a big water restoration work here in the West. And that's, by the way, I think that's the Chainsmokers in the background. Is that right? Was that the Chainsmokers that night?
It could have either been, if I remember correctly, it was either the Chainsmokers. I remember that The Aerosmith was a part of that
Yeah, that
concert
was
as
a good
well,
one.
but that music fest out at Hants Park, especially as the bridge is actually situated on top of the I-10 freeway, was a pretty magical experience.
Yes, when they actually dropped the beat, for those everyone listening, the entire area went like this. It was wonderful and terrifying at the same time. Let's go past college here. So you mentioned Green Sports Alliance. You didn't work in sport right away after you left the university. You had a little bit of a stint working actually for a wonderful electronics and energy organization. And then you went back to the GSA. But you knew the GSA ahead of time, right? So ASU had been a signatory to the Green Sports Alliance. What drew you from a career perspective? Because you grew up with sports, you did this stuff, you were fantastic. What made you want, or rather, what made you recognize that as a career field, you could make a sustainability career in sports? And why do you find that valuable?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing that had always drawn me to sustainability was the opportunity to have such a large community impact in anything that I did. And that was something that I knew I wanted out of my professional career, and always wanted to make sure that in anything I did, there was some type of positive good associated to it. Not, of course, to myself, but to folks around me, that folks that could certainly utilize those opportunities, and then being able to share that same mentality with others in that snowball trickle down effect. And as I was working with Schneider Electric prior to the Green Sports Alliance, there was still a great opportunity there to even build out the sustainability department that they've been really developing within their resource advisor, Internet of Things kind of piece, in how it all connected within the electronics industry. And I thought that was a great opportunity for me to, utilize my energy, materials, and technology skill set. But suddenly there was an opening within the Green Sports Alliance that I couldn't take up. And sport, of course, was so near and dear to my heart. There was an opportunity here that I knew I couldn't pass up, and that wasn't going to potentially be available in the near future. And so jumping straight into the Green Sports Alliance, it was a easy marriage, quite honestly, of my passion. And I imagine many of us tuning in, this affinity that we have for sport, this ability for sustainability to change a community, to change a entertainment company / organization that is a Seattle Mariners, that is a Atlanta Falcons, that is a Arizona State University. And the way that a organizing body like that can truly change what happens within outside the confines of their four walls, I think is such a amazing story to tell. And as much as we love to, tell the great stories of those that came before us through this kind of narrative of sport, sustainability does that exact same thing. I've always seen, and something that I've certainly learned from you, Colin, is that sustainability is truly a catalyst for fan engagement within sport. But on the flip side too, sport is that catalyst for this broader systemic change in our community. And I think this marriage is something that I've been certainly really fortunate to be a part of, and excited for what's to come.
So like any good marriage, right? I'm the beneficiary of my wife's very poor taste in men, so I can attest to that. Let's talk about the future, right? The many happy years. So you mentioned this, and I found just this phrase interesting: an entertainment organization. Moving into something. So even as of late, and I think you can riff on this for a lot of different areas, yes, sustainability may only be thought about in some areas as just recycling, but you know that it's so much more. Could you walk us through maybe some of the things that have been on your mind from a sustainability holistic perspective through that lens of sport, maybe over the last couple of years? Are there things that have been happening in the last year or even present day? And then to quote the great one, where do you see the puck going here in the future? What are you going to be thinking about? So a little bit of the past, what's worried you or loved? What are you noodling on now? And what excites you about the future?
Absolutely. And actually, I can give a couple of examples here. I'd say, in the past, it has been the, greening of let's recycle, let's change out some light bulbs, and let's plant a couple of trees. And that's all fine and dandy. But what positive impact does that create in the long term? And what changes can you make in a system that would allow for more broader opportunity? Where I see that now, and what our membership are doing across the Green Sports Alliance, is shifting from this recycling model and now shifting towards a zero waste circularity system where you have organizations like Reprieve and Unify looking at how you can take plastic bottles from the stadium, bring that plastic back to the facility, and create polos out of them to create sweatshirts and t-shirts, and then sell that back to fans, to students within your bookstores or within your fan store. And within the lighting systems, how can you look at, okay, let's make human-centric lighting a focus on the field, within the clubhouses, within the staff areas. That's all great, of course, for your energy efficiency. But in those corporate sponsorships with these entertainment companies, with these venues, is there an opportunity to then donate units, to donate lighting systems into low-income community regions outside of your stadium, and being able to talk to students, talk to teachers, talk to school district supervisors about why this lighting system is important for the development of youth in our country? And that's something that Plan LED has been really developing on within the Denver region and within the St. Louis region, Seattle and New York as well. And so many groups are being able to take these once seen as, you know, green and sustainable programs and initiatives and really bring this into the forefront of, okay, we have these UN Sustainable Development Goals. We know that there's more out there that we can do. How can we contextually bring that back down into our sports teams and drive it in a way that can allow for broader and more impactful change for the long term, both for the fans, the teams, and for the players at large?
I like it. Let's talk about the present and where it's going. So if everyone's been, you know, listening to the news in the last year and a half or two, you know, there's been some really interesting things that have been happening, I say, on a global, but even a domestic basis here. Things like, so you were wearing a jersey of Miss Megan Rapinoe of the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team. I think it's fairly well known. You know, there were some conversations and still litigation ongoing about things like pay equity. We had the conversations previously with, you know, a few years ago, Colin Kaepernick taking a knee on the football field and what that meant. We've had, as of late, some of the concerns with regard to the Confederate flag and social justice of Bubba Wallace, one of the top tier, only person of color in the top Cup Series of NASCAR. Could you maybe walk us through how the GSA is thinking about this? How are member organizations thinking about things that are beyond recycling, things like race and equity? Why is that germane to sports and sustainability?
It's such a key piece of something I mentioned earlier, Colin, is that sport is this huge catalyst for broader and systemic change within our communities. And when you have the Colin Kaepernicks and the Megan Rapinoes of the world making a stand for pieces like this, what comes to follow are other members of the Major League Baseball community, players, coaches, and fans speaking out about all of the injustices that have been taking place across the country and what more can be done simply by swallowing a pill of self-awareness and then being able to move forward in a path of positivity and understanding. I think is certainly something that we're seeing across all of the major leagues. You look at some of the teams and players with MLS and the NBA and even the college students organizing, you know, opportunities to be a part of their local marches that are taking place in their college towns, and then encouraging each other to do something as simple or maybe a little bit broader outside of their realm of, you know, just playing a sport, to what some people think, but buckling down and saying, hey, let's get the entire football team to go down to the local center and be able to register to vote in this upcoming campaign, to be able to have a voice and things like that. As we talk about, you know, the U.S. Women's National Team and the conversations that have been ongoing with their pay equity or unequity in this case, being able to simply drive that conversation from the standpoint of how you can make sport a broader piece of the conversation outside of just playing a game. You look at the historians and the historical figures of the Jackie Robinsons, the Muhammad Alis, the Jesse Owens of the world, and you see, you know, what's next? How do fans get engaged with this? How does technology become a stronger catalyst for how we can message and build out these conversations? And certainly as this awareness and these pieces have been building, you see teams and fans and owners and organizations coming together at the beginning of, you know, mid-March looking at, what do all of these repercussions of COVID-19 look like, and how can teams support their staff, their event staff, their full-time staff, and their players. And now it's looking, as we start bringing fans and folks back in, of course, this new layer of that just recently resurfaced to the kind of unfortunate scenario that we've been kind of thrown in, is that now we bring together this social racial injustice conversation, and still so many coaches, players, and organizations stepping up and showcasing their corporate social responsibility and their emphasis into these conversations. It's just so empowering to see our members and our players and fans really coming together in these conversations and opening up this dialogue for broader change within our communities.
I love it, right? And I love that you tied in the historical context. Some people may say, oh, gee whiz, it's not the role of sport to play social, adjudicator or activist. But the reality is, as we all know, folks like Billie Jean King, Jackie Robinson, they were pioneers of women's rights, of race relations. And sport has actually always been at the forefront of that back to the history of time. Moving forward, so where do you think, we're talking a lot about race and equity right now. Where do you see sport engagement in conversation? What's sports sustainability 3 or 4.0? What are you guys noodling on of the role of sport to have a social compact with society in the world?
And something that I'm really excited to talk about, Colin, are these conversations of, what's next as we start diving into these circularity conversations and things that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation have done, in conversations that others are trying to build within their own stadiums. What new technologies are being implemented in these new stadiums? How can teams start to look more intrinsically at the leadership and reach that their players have on such a broad level, and being able to take those platforms to talk about things like what Kevin Love has been doing so profoundly over the past several years about mental health and well-being, about how conversations that Kyrie Irving and other really high-profile players across so many different sports, Drew Brees and others, are talking about these social justice conversations and bringing that to the homes of our fans and our communities. These are pieces that we see as ever changing, but really so opportunistic in a way that the ceiling is it's so hard to find, because with sustainability, it's never a pinpoint mission. It's always trying to figure out how you continuously improve upon the systems you already have, while being able to make sure that every cog and every wheel that comes into motion is a well-oiled machine that allows for everybody to have a strong voice and be engaged in that conversation.
I love it. I mean, advocacy, movement, passion. I want to make sure that our guests joining us today feel free to have the opportunity to always jump in, just hop on in. If you've got a question or a comment, just take yourself off mute. Feel free to do that now, or just type something into the box right there. Does anyone have a question from the audience by chance at the moment? People might be using their digital voice. So I'll ask kind of maybe some wrap ups here as we start kind of winding down here, Garrett. For the students that are joining us today, what would you recommend to them? So they're going to be hopefully aspiring change agents. We see all of you out there in digital land. What would you offer from a word of advice? So you're a consummate professional working in the sports and sustainability area. If they're interested in the same space and sector, what sage words do you give to them?
Gosh, I mean, one piece of advice, I guess, in coming into college, it was such a new opportunity for me. I had such a tight-knit kind of community coming in, but of course, leaving all of that behind out from that 2-hour plane ride from the Bay Area out to Phoenix and Tempe, Arizona. But once I kind of set my roots within the School of Sustainability, had such a great cohort of really close friends that I still keep in close contact here, even to this day, after 4 years after graduating from my undergrad. It's being able to make sure that contacts don't just become business cards, and that these are connections and relationships that you're going to carry with you for much longer sometimes than you can expect. And in that human understanding that everybody's trying to do their part and trying to figure out where their major impact is within, their realm of business or within their community, I'd say, you know, just keep all of your doors open and keep your mind open to new opportunities. Coming into the School of Sustainability, didn't imagine this sport and sustainability coupling that I now call a career path. And certainly coming into it was okay, well, I mean, I could get into solar energy, maybe environmental law. And then suddenly, as I started continuously learning and talking to more folks, learning through their connections and then their connections connected me with other folks, eventually it came to the point where suddenly I'm talking with some of the VPs within the National Hockey League. Sometimes it was, I was at a board meeting with the football coach and with the athletic director as an undergraduate student. And it was such an amazing opportunity to be a part of those conversations. Always welcomed to be the youngest person in the room, because it showed the value that I could bring into those conversations and showed the leadership potential that I could have. And so if there's one piece of advice that I would reiterate back to everybody, it would be to keep the doors open and make sure that with every connection that you make, that it is truly for the sake of building a relationship and not just for the sake of a cool business card.
Well, Garrett, those are wise words, right? You're one of our star alumni. You do some incredible work. So on behalf of the school, we want to say thank you for joining us today, sharing your wisdom, your expertise, and your insight here. For all of us joining today, the easiest way in order to get in contact with us, and we welcome this, shoot us an email, schoolofsustainability@asu.edu, or just head on over to our website, sos.asu.edu. Just a few more slides here. We do have some opportunities here. I'm sorry that that strike through didn't come through. Some things we've actually covered. We have coming up even tonight at 5 p.m. and Thursday, 10 to 5, capping off Thursday evening, a wonderful Q&A, as Garrett was once a student ambassador. We've actually got a great cadre of our student ambassadors joining us as well. So maximize these opportunities. We have more storytelling coming up, and again, a Q&A as well. We hope to have you join us in the future. And if you'd like anything, Garrett you can find his information just on the Green Sports Alliance. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to connect with any of you. So Garrett, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and keep up the great work.
Colin, thank you so much for having me, and for everybody out there, go Devils. We'll see you soon.
All right, go Devils, Garrett. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.